Totally just fun. He doesn't know if it's siblings. They all laugh. My mom's going to their house.
So many things I disagree in. In person, my parents, I'm sure very something. And I would spend the entire time looking at the flag and praying for an answer.
Yeah.
Just ignore that.
Yeah.
So. No, my mom used to say when I was a baby, she would be doing.
Hi.
And she. Right.
Yeah, I don't think the Ukrainian and Russian church.
Yeah. I don't think I love jam,
I understand, I read like Russian, I understand a good portion. The Russian church is this whole focus on language. No way.
Another.
It's way big.
And that's a different alphabet, right?
Well, it's a real alphabet. Yeah, but I'm sure the Slavic may be a little different from the regular.
Okay, yeah, so.
But, I was at, I went there at Peter. I remember. You take the lessons and everything.
Yeah.
But anyways, I saw a brochure there and it talked about a seminar here. And then all of a sudden, my huge desire was really a musician. And I go, I'm gonna go to that seminar, but I'm also gonna go to the service before the seminar.
Yeah.
That service was joy. That was it.
That feels divine, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I took my grandson, and he is, this is service sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. He had quite a few physical problems that he's obsessed with. This is.
Yeah, so.
Anything I'm used to, for his people, the joke. They say.
Right, and we're
Are you?
Yeah, I go, oh, no, this. So cute.
We'll still wait a couple minutes. It's not quite 7:15.
They give you about a year.
Yeah. So we get through like two nights because, you know. Yeah. She went down to the whatever.
You used to teach her class, like last year, a while ago. Which one? This is.
I'm just making fun.
Oh, because, oh, yes, it was. Haven't taught this.
I remember you.
We was here sometime. Yes. No, you're right, because it really feels like a long time since I've. It was, actually, I've got this
Started it, yeah, but I was gifted it.
beginning of December was the last time I taught. Yeah,
But then her second book is even better.
yeah, it does, was last year.
You wanted to listen to after you finish the first.
Wow.
It really helps with you.
And we'll still wait.
Okay.
A lot of information.
A lot of stuff we're gonna cover tonight, but we'll wait until. Maybe we'll start a minute early, but that we'll wait 1 more minute. Okay, so there's a lot that we're gonna do tonight. Tonight is anti-Semitism and the Holocaust in an hour. Yeah. So it's It's heavy, it's like just almost impossible to cover all of that, but we'll do what we can, and I'll be sending you more things and things that I recommend, and yeah. We'll go from there. How are you? Good.
Hello.
While we're waiting, how is everyone? Good? You're off to a good start? This 2026. This is crazy. Well, hopefully it's gonna be good. Yeah.
There's someone in the living.
Thank you. Oh, this is not someone who's ever come before. Trevor? Does anybody know Trevor? I know there was a night that some students from Nazareth came, and I didn't teach that night. But was any of them named Trevor?
No, they were too young with them.
I think,
Remember?
Yeah.
okay. Remove or just ignore?
One or the other, living thing.
Is the link on the
Trevor,
website?
his name?
It is on the website, you can click, it says click to join, click to join Judaism 101. I mean, I know that, Katya was working again. She missed Hebrew because she had to work again, but she said she was gonna try and come to Judaism 101. But that's not her name, her last name either. Okay, thank you. Group call. If it's really someone we know, they'll have to join by themselves. Oh. I don't need to report. We don't need to report. We just wanna not let them in. Especially when we're doing anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. We don't need to be letting people we don't know. Yeah. It's not really an open class to all. It's register, or, if someone brings a friend that's different, or if you're coming in, yeah. Or if anybody here knew who this Trevor was, that would be a little different.
He's the CEO of the ticketing company.
Thank you for looking him up, but we're gonna we removed him. Okay. So deep breath, big sigh, because we have a lot that we're gonna cover. We're gonna start with anti-Semitism. And we're going to talk about the definition, start with the definition, and I will send it to you as well, but everything that I hand out, I will send you, and I'll be sending you more. But we'll just pass some this way. There are several definitions of anti-Semitism. This is the working definition from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. There's more coming, they're coming both ways, so there should be plenty. They're coming that way.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, he said this time was very cheaply.
Very good.
In some ways, it shouldn't be something so difficult or controversial. But this is the definition, this is the working definition still from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And this is the definition that is kind of a go-to. The State Department uses this definition, and others use this definition. So there's a lot of wording here as well. We're gonna look in the box there. In the middle of the box, we've got our working definition. It's in the quotes, and who would like to read it for us? Thank you.
Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews, Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities.
It's pretty straightforward. Lots of pieces that go along with anti-Semitism. We're going to really kind of break it down in some ways, and then we're going to pick it apart and see where it comes. And it's also, anti-Semitism has also been called the longest hatred, because there was a PBS, I don't know if it's still accessible online, but a PBS film years ago called The Longest Hatred. That was actually really well done with the history of anti-Semitism. And there are others out there as well. Because anti-Semitism has been around almost as long as Judaism has been around, unfortunately. Yeah. So examples, and I think the back. Yes, there are actually more examples on the back here than I had on my list. So let's turn to the back of this, and we're just going to go through these examples. Not going to be fun, but we're going to just go through them, and then we're going to look at some stereotypes. Let's just go around. Chris, do you mind doing the first one? Okay.
Calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion.
Thank you. John?
Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions.
Thank you.
Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews.
Thank you.
Denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, example, gas chambers, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of National Socialist Germany, and its supporters and accomplices during World War II, the Holocaust.
Accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust.
Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations.
Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination by claiming that an existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor.
Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation.
Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, for example, claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis.
Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy with that of the Nazis.
Ellen or Richard, one of you guys want to do that last one?
Holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel.
Thank you. So just a few examples. And unfortunately, we see it every day, and we can find it every day. So what I want to go to next, and we won't, if anyone comes to the waiting room, we might not see them right now, but the Anti-Defamation League, their website has so much information. And they are so useful in helping to know how to respond and how to counteract, or if you want to see examples of what's going on in the world today, the ADL has it, or if you see something, you can report it to, or hear of something, you can report it to the ADL. So they have this guide here, when we're going to just kind of go through it a little bit so you see it, and then you can take time at home to go through it in more depth, because I would want to get to some other things as well. And I'll send you the link. As in addition, I downloaded their toolkit that goes along with this, Anti-Semitism Uncovered, which ways to speak up and to share and to respond. So I'm gonna, and I have it, it's a 38-page PDF. I'm gonna email it to you. So, but we're gonna come here and just take a look and you'll see what they have here. So it's looking at some of these, they're calling them myths, stereotypes, however you want to look at the myths or stereotypes, and what they are, and any facts that are back in there that were twisted into making these stereotypes. So, and you can often find little videos explaining this as well, but we're going to look at some of these. We might go through one all together and then you can look at the rest yourself. Power, disloyalty, greed, deicide, blood libel, denial, Holocaust denial, and anti-Zionism. And as we went through the back of here, it kind of went through all of these examples in some ways or another. And it's good to be familiar with these myths or stereotypes, because then it gives you knowledge to respond when someone says something that falls clearly within one of these myths or these stereotypes, because you can't respond without knowledge. And that's what we're going to do. So I think, yeah, so there's a whole introduction about anti-Semitism here. I just want to show you the web. This is a fabulous website that gives you so much. Yeah, so if you're going to, well, I'll send you the link because it's anti-Semitism uncovered. So then here's a definition, and they've got some other definitions. They've got the Merriam-Webster definition, but we go through and they're going to have the same one that we had too. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. This is the definition we just read. And it's got these same little bullet points that we just read. Okay. And then we've got history. We could spend a whole semester talking about the history of anti-Semitism. We could spend the whole time looking at anti-Semitism here in the US. Yes, there was a blood libel in the US in the 1920s. And it was happily here in New York State, up in the North Country. There's a book. Didn't bring that book. I brought some others. But yeah, so things happen. So we could spend so much time on that, but we're not going to, because it's easy for you to read that on yourself. Okay, so here are our myths. Again, I want to go in more depth with one of them. I'm gonna let you guys choose. So we've got power, disloyalty, greed, deicide, blood libel, Holocaust denial, and anti-Zionism.
Obviously, it's up to everybody, but I would throw my vote in for anti-Zionism.
For Holocaust denial.
And again, these are easily read.
There isn't a bad choice.
No, there isn't. And actually, I might just, because sometimes you get to those and you need the background of some of the others. I think we might need to start with some of the older ones, because you find pieces of those older stereotypes and myths within Holocaust denial and within anti-Semitism. So let's, we're going to go to greed, because the global conspiracy is probably with power, but we're going to go with greed, because I think that, okay, again, everything is here. So I love this website, because not only are they going to show us what it is, to know what it is, to see examples of it, but then how do we address it when it happens? Okay. So. One of the most prominent and persistent stereotypes is that Jews are greedy and avaricious, hoping to make themselves rich by any means. They're seen as both relentless in the pursuit of wealth and also as stingy misers, determined not to let any money slip from their grasp. They're imagined to exert control over the world's financial system, but are also accused of regularly cheating friends and neighbors of a buck. It's like right here in the example, we've got things on both sides. It's like whatever we do, they're going to come and get us. So we can, again, there are little short, I think they're like 10-minute or less videos with each one that I really recommend you watch later. We can watch one now together. I don't know if that's the best use of our time, but we can. I mean, I think that at home you should do this whole website, everything here. So we are going to come here. We're going to be talking about pictures like this in a little bit. But there's a lot to read from there. Okay, here's where we're going to start here. The stereotype. So there's a history to this one, which is one reason I wanted us to explore this one. From the Middle Ages. Why? Why did this why did it really take hold in the Middle Ages? Well, the Christians were prohibited from dealing with money. So here we can read the Jews were forbidden to do so many different jobs. They weren't allowed to own land. And the Christians were not allowed to deal with money. And yet the rulers needed money. They needed their taxes collected. They needed people to loan money. So the Jews were given that job. It was in some ways what you could do. So Jews were recruited, the rulers recruited Jews because the Christians were forbidden from doing this. So it made it easy for the Jews to become a scapegoat as the cause of everybody's problems, because the Jews were the ones who were holding their money and doing things with their money. Jews were made villains in literature. We already know, we can think of examples. We've got Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. It's the one that many people think about. There are others as well. Okay. And then we can come with more modern examples. Again, I don't want to spend too much time with all of this, but here, this is where we go. And then now we can see it. So we can see examples of it. Quotes of people who say, you people read things, they don't know, well, some of them are quite clear that they're anti-Semitic. Others are not as clear instantly, but it's all comes back here. From here, this is from 2023, 2022. Jewish people have owned the Black boys. So we can pick them all apart. Yeah. Okay. There are a lot more examples.
Before you leave this, can you?
Yes.
Did I just see one from?
Probably. From.
The one about, scroll back up, please.
Absolutely.
No, okay. I, for some reason, I thought a politician who said the one about the war in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, well, there probably are some. Oh, here, let's see. yeah. So what do we do?
So the Jew flu. With the.
Which- This one?
Yeah.
Oh. My vaccine, it's the Jew flu.
It's about COVID.
COVID.
Jews were responsible for COVID. Yeah. Never let a crisis go to waste, anti-Semitic. Canard. Yes. Yeah, and so then how can we address it? So we've got, you know, there are Jews who are greedy and miserly, but we find that in any group of people. You're gonna find some who are this and some who are that. All Jews anything? No, I mean, you put two Jews together, you got 5 opinions. How can you have all Jews anything? So the truth is, the Jews, like other people, exist across the socioeconomic status, the spectrum of the socioeconomic status. It's wrong to assume that a high proportion of wealthy Jews signifies Jewish greed, rather than say the rewards of disciplined hard work for the benefit of the wider society. It's also wrong to assume that their money will be put to nefarious use, and wrong that all Jews are even wealthy in the first place. So they are going to give us ways to address it in some of these other pieces, and also in this other piece that I'm going to send to you, this anti-Semitism uncovered. This little toolkit, again, it's long, but it gives a little bit of how do we address this. This anytime you're in this website, you can always come back here, and it's going to let you come back to the beginning, or come back to whatever you want to find. Again, I would be happy to spend more time with this. We won't get to the Holocaust if we do. Are there questions? Each one of these myths are still in existence today, all of them, and we can find, unfortunately, more examples than we want to today. But again, the ADL is going to give us a little bit of something on our side to help us respond, because it's so hard to know how to respond to any of these accusations, these threats. Again, calmly and with some sort of knowledge base is the best way to address any of this. Okay. We're gonna talk about the Holocaust in the rest of our time. What I want to do, we're going to do 3 different things. First, I'm going to give you an overview, and I'm going to email everything as well. It's kind of a timeline. Most of this that I'm giving you today comes from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Their website is also really awesome. So many wonderful things that they have there. The videos that they make are fabulous, really short, deeper explanations. Anytime you hear survivors' testimony and survivors speak, and a lot of it now has to be through video because we don't have as many survivors who are still here, but there's so much. I want to go through some books. I want to at the end as well. But so I'm going to give you a brief timeline. We're not going to spend a lot of time with it. We're going to do 2 things really so that we can actually do something in more depth. We're going to look at some propaganda, because it also relates to our world today in a different way, or in a, unfortunately, too realistic way. But we're going to look at some Nazi propaganda. I'm going to put it up here. No, not that one. This is the timeline that I'm going to give you. I just I put 4 pages on each one because it's so long, it's a 30-page timeline. And I did it in black and white instead, but, so actually here, let me go ahead and pass these around. Let you pass these around while I tell you
Doing that, do you still bring
a survivor into the classroom. I haven't in the last few years. There are still some survivors in Rochester and they will still come out and speak. In my 7th grade class, for most of the time that I've been here, we've spent about a semester on the Holocaust. And I've brought in a survivor to speak. In the last few years, it's almost too close to home that I've scaled back a little bit on what we do in the Holocaust in 7th grade. And we focus instead on stories of resistance and rescue, which is where I want to go in the 3rd piece. So we're going to look at some propaganda. So the timeline, if you have questions, I don't really know that we need to go through it, but I think it's important to know the whole steps. Again, we could. And if I'm going in a direction that you would rather do something else, tell me, because this is a topic I know well. But I thought it might be kind of interesting for us to pick apart some Nazi propaganda and see what it is they're trying to tell us, because it might help us in looking at the world and news and things today as well. So, and this one I printed in color as well. There are, I think, 6 different pieces of propaganda here. And I'm going to have you work in 2s or 3s. And you're going to try and figure out, you can each, because there are 6, you can each pick any one. And even if you all pick the same one, that's okay. I haven't passed it out yet. Stacy, it's right here. But I can. I can show you up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at this, whichever piece of propaganda you choose from this packet. You're going to try and figure out the message by looking at the elements that are here, picking apart the picture. What is it that you can understand and see here? What kind of context is it? Look at these people's faces. And what kind of climate? So see if you can answer any of those questions. It might be hard. I'm going to give you the teacher's guide answer sheet afterwards. But I want you to try and understand this. But I think it's so important that I need you to see what it really is. But I think I want you to spend maybe 10 minutes or up to 10 minutes, again, in 2s or 3s, looking at one of these to try and understand what message they're trying to convey with this. Because there is a clear message from each one of these pieces of propaganda that they want you to understand and to learn from that. Is that good, or do you want me to assign a page to each pair, or pick your own? Okay, go ahead and pick your own, and if everyone chooses the same one, that's okay. If you would rather work by yourself, you can, but I think it's better in 2s or 3s, because you'll see different people will see different things in the picture. And if you pencil, make sure everybody has some. You have them, yeah. Pencils. Pencils.
Do you have one?
Okay. You're good. Here it goes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but, well, maybe not. No, it's, it's there. But. I don't know, maybe just like. Present how, something like that, and then go through the referendums, like those. There's all. Yeah, it's like, yeah, very. Yeah.
It's so relevant today. A lot. I guess when I look at this, it's like. There's somebody missing. Yeah, I don't know, one person's only self, so. Movies, never. One of the hosts finished. And I think we can see that when you if somebody shows themselves as the one person, so I guess the message, there's a limitation to itself. And when you follow this person. Not sure which way I'm saying this. Yes. No. If I see this is like. It's just to show how like this feel. I mean, honest to be how it's exhausted by. I'll give you this. This is also. This is also.
He was trying to. The whole right. Be the first things on. Right.
And if I have some knowledge. It's more of this shop must be.
It's like, the blow of land, the other side. Very good.
Yeah. Germany. First time. And so the first group is exactly
It's more like.
yeah, economic struggles that they have over.
You hear it's him just saying there's only one hope.
Electing.
What was the also for what this party trying to.
The state for the whole country was ruled by Good things that they define.
Oh, they were just the beginning. I didn't realize that was just what that exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like that.
These definitely.
See, this is my training in the hot college in high school. But I need to practice.
There were AP credits for them.
Yeah, and the trip to.
Oh, we did that in about 6th or 7th grade, the other one,
Yeah,
I think.
I
Yeah, we were at IBC. So they brought us to.
It's very like masculine, like power.
At the time, I don't know what the population is like now, but they were like, the number of Jews who died in the Holocaust is equal to the population of the state that Yale was in. And that was a lot. Like the 6th grade.
My dad's possession was World War II. I just watched someone Holocaust movies and other things.
It's sort of. History. Right.
Yeah, 10 capital for something.
Another minute or two, or do you need more time?
Looks like if they don't get it back for 10 seconds, then. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. What did you think? Which one, who wants to go first and tell us which one you looked at and what you understood from it?
I can go.
Okay,
I looked at the state of deception. It was the board game.
they're, oh, the game. Okay, they're all called the state of
Yeah,
deception.
so sorry.
That's okay, the game.
I looked at the game. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
Use out.
yes.
This got me because it's a board game. Board games are usually for children and families.
It was a game for children. Yeah.
And it looks non-threatening.
Mhm.
I feel like was one of the reasons that was probably so effective. Trying to act like Jews are pieces like on a game to collect, I feel like was meant to.
Well, how do you win the game?
You have to chase out 6 Jews
Yeah. And then you win.
and then you win.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was teaching to dehumanize.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that it's saying, well, they're off to Palestine, so it could be, it wasn't overtly violent, like some of the other
Okay,
propaganda.
okay.
And I thought it perpetuated an us versus them
Mm-hmm.
narrative.
Yeah. Which,
Especially
yeah,
laying the groundwork for their welcome, and you'll be rewarded for chasing them up.
okay, good. Anybody else have any comments about that particular one? Okay, anybody else want to share what you thought of the one that you were looking at? Yeah, which one were you looking at?
We looked at the first one
Okay,
and. Kind of too, but I'll just say that what was interesting to me about this one. Was not so much what's in it is what's not in the image.
mm-hmm, okay,
There's no, obviously, this was not obviously, but this was before. You know, the establishment of the National Socialist Party.
no, the party was around since then, the early 1920s,
Before they were in power.
before they were completely in power, yes.
So
Okay.
there's no swastika. You can look at any of these people and not necessarily think that, oh, that's a Jew. So that I found interesting.
Okay,
We did say it's a lot of dark colors, and there's a lot of like hopelessness.
and who can fix that hopelessness and those people that are.
Right, only one person, that's what he said, but
Mhm.
it's kind of saying there's only one person who's going to help save them, basically.
Yes. Yeah, these are in the picture, they're Germans who are sad and out of work, and yeah,
I mean, the target audience were the people depicted in the image, you know, working
Yes.
age
Mhm.
adults,
Yep,
Everyday people.
right?
thank you. Okay. Yeah,
I was just gonna say this picture could be a picture of the US Depression.
yeah, it was the same time, it was the Depression, it was in Germany, yes,
I mean,
yeah,
they're all the same.
exactly.
Could be anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And which one did you guys do?
The one on page 5.
The board, oh, the one with the photograph of the children, yes.
I mean, if the red letters were, put there, draw a visual of these happy, idyllic children
Mm-hmm,
that were Aryan and
yes,
propaganda to have more children,
yes,
and they were very healthy, I guess.
mm-hmm,
And Lily White.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Which one did you guys do?
We did the Siege of Versailles.
Okay.
So, we looked at it in a few different ways. First of all, visually, it has that Nazi, black, red, and white kind of branding that
Mhm.
they bring back over and over again. And here the swastika is sort of this violent saw-like feature coming in and breaking these chains of Versailles that, my understanding of it is that the Treaty of Versailles, like it took a lot of land away from Germany and,
It limited a lot of things. It was the end of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, and yeah, Germany had to make a lot of reparations, and they lost some territory, and they lost, they were not happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the names of the lands that they lost on the right of the page.
Yes.
Sudetenland and Bohemia and stuff like that.
Okay.
Are on there. And the imagery of breaking chains and stuff like that, being freed from sort of like similar to what is on page 1 that they went over, sort of like economic downturn and stuff like that, which just feel like oppression, which frees fascism and both
Thank you.
sides.
Yeah.
and we talked about how, the concept of like breaking chains, becoming free, it could be like a hopeful thought, but here it's like warlike and aggressive and ominous and threatening.
Is that what they said? Thank you. Yeah, which one did you guys do?
We did the second one, the,
This is great, you guys are all doing
at least,
without even trying.
just saying to vote for the Nazi party,
Mhm.
but specifically, the fist is knocking out a person, so in. The pun there is that they had to vote for 10, but also in boxing, when you knock someone out, you get 10 points. Or they do a count from 10
Okay.
to see if someone is knocked out, so it's like a few different levels to it. But they're just saying like the Nazi party is the only one who's going to be able to hit home with this.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody look at any of the other? Yeah,
I looked at the last one.
this is great that everyone's doing this. Okay,
It had this very dark and sinister looking man behind the flags of Germany's opponents.
Mhm.
And it was defined it as a Jew. It has got the Star of David on.
Mhm.
It was clearly a bad person who was influencing the opponents of Germany at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot to learn from these. And there's a lot to pick out, which is why I thought that it was so interesting and. Again, I'm passing out the little teacher's guide, just because you might pick up some other things, or for the ones that you didn't really take the time to explore. It can show you some things right away to help you with that. Looking at, anytime we look at anti-Semitism or the Holocaust. It can be very wavy. It can be very. It can be overwhelmingly horrific. So when we look at the Holocaust, we can look at it through the horror, or we can look inside of it and find the hope. And that's the way that I like to teach the Holocaust, by looking for the hope and the humanity wherever we can find it. So I'm going to show you or introduce you to a few people, and then we're going to talk about them a little bit. Because when it becomes human, when you see people who reach out and help, both through forms of resistance and through others who are rescuing, it puts an entirely different brain around what we're looking at. Because we push the horror aside, we push not that it ever goes away, because there is horror through all of it. But by looking at ways that we can find humanity within this, it makes all the difference. And also just some other things that you may want to read. Anytime you want to, and there's some good Holocaust fiction, but always better is to look at memoirs. And there's or diaries, because there's a lot of really good diaries that have been published, really good memoirs that we have. But at first, again, I want to introduce you to some people and some different types of resistance. So when you think of resistance, what do you think of? If I said that there is, people say that the Jews went like sheep to the slaughter because they were just pushed. But we find resistance at every level, all over the place. But if I said to you resistance in the Holocaust, what would you think of?
Partisans.
Partisans. Thank you. What else? Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. So we can think of armed resistance. Both of those are, and going back over here, another one of my favorite websites is the Jewish Partisans education Oh, it's not Jewish. Fabulous website. Teaching you about the Jewish partisans. There were about 30,000 Jews who hid in the woods and fought back. And amazing stories of the horrific conditions that they lived in, but the way that they survived and what they did. Fabulous memoir. Speaking of memoirs, Faye Schulman was a partisan, but she was also a photographer. No, there's one of these pictures right away where you can see where she is, but it's not that one. But the partisans, I love this website. I actually have that t-shirt there. The website is wonderful. There's a lot of really short little films here as well. That some are just a couple minutes long, some are a little bit longer, but explaining who the partisans were and what they did. And so many wonderful things to explore. I'll send you, yeah, and I'll put it in because it's one of my favorite websites. But the Bielski brothers. You've heard of the Bielski brothers? No. Have you heard of the film Defiant? Because that is the story of the Bielski. Fabulous film. And actually the trailer is under, where are the little films? Here. You can, there's a whole bunch of things about the Bielski brothers here as well. So the first time I really heard about them was when I read this book, before the Defiance, which was also really good as a book, and the film. But I've been teaching here a long time. And a woman who was in our library many years ago, this book was, I don't know if it was donated, or she's like, I've just read this book, you've got to read it. And the story of the Bielski brothers just amazed me. They were not only a Jewish partisan band themselves, most of the Jewish partisans were attached themselves with other groups of partisans, with Soviet partisans, with, every country had partisans. But this was and there were some other bands of Jewish partisans, but the Bielskis wanted to save as many people as they could. They had over 1,000 people in their group. In the end, they had like a little city hidden in the forest. But it was more important to them to save someone than to do all of the fighting that they also did. But interestingly, many years ago, I think it was 2002, there was a girl in my 7th grade class, and I had posters of the Holocaust around. I've been teaching, all this a long time. Posters around the class that I had from, I don't remember where, I think they were from Yad Vashem. But one was a picture of a group of partisans in the woods, and she looked up and she said, "That's my grandfather." And I didn't really process the whole thing. I didn't know, and I didn't know if she was, what she meant. Tuvia Bielski was her grandfather. They lived in Rochester for a few years. The next year, the mom moved, I think, to Florida. So there were twins. The girl was one of twins, and they were not in my class anymore. So I didn't really know she didn't know her grandfather's story at that time. She's like, "That's my grandfather, but I don't know the story." And it turns out her grandfather was Tuvia Bielski, the head of the Bielski brothers. And that's however many degrees of separation. That's my degree of separation. That I had his granddaughter briefly, or not briefly, but in 7th grade. But highly recommend the film Defiance. It's really good. Of course, reading is better. This book is really good, as well as the book Defiance. And even just watching some of the short films here, but about the Bielskis. And the youngest Bielski brother, Aaron, speaks on some of these little films. And there's also one and one that I really like, that's a longer film, called of Partisan Returns. This one's 20 minutes, it's longer. But it's the story of this woman who was in the Bielski group, she and her sister. And at the end, there's a reunion of the Bielski survivors. So resistance, we think often of armed resistance, but the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, again, I don't think I have brought them here, but I have books about that. There was a mini series on TV called Uprising that you probably can find somewhere online. I'll look. It was a it's like 4 hours, so however many part mini series on TV, I think whatever channel in it, and you can, it's not going to be so gruesome because it was made for TV, but really well done. And it goes through the whole story. They had Warsaw Ghetto Uprising survivors who were guiding them through that. I also somewhere in my classroom have a guide for teaching through uprising somewhere. So many things. But when we think about resistance, the armed resistance is the first thing that we often think of. There are so many types of resistance that got people through day by day. And we think of these types of unarmed resistance. We have to really think about them because they're not the ones that people can see, they're just as powerful as these other ones. We can look at art. We can look at diaries. We can look at music. Any of those types of things are a form of resistance. How? How can a drawing or a poem or a diary entry or a piece of music be resistance?
All forms of self-expression, which was stamped out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on the one hand, yes, but what else? Yeah.
Combat ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also to give you hope.
Yes. And what does hope give you? The power and the ability to live another day. Maybe it'll inspire someone else. So if we look at these, but often we also see a way for them to pass on the message and tell people what really went on. If you read some of these diaries, or maybe not the children's art, but some of the children's art, it depicts what really happened. We listen to the music. There was music written in the camps. There was music played in the camps. And it did all of those things. It was a way to tell the world. It was a way to help yourself and help others. It was a way to defy the rule that you're not supposed to do this. And so I'm going to do it. And all of that is a form of fighting back. This book, I Never Saw Another Butterfly, children's drawings and poems from Theresienstadt. Theresienstadt was an interesting place. It was neither a ghetto nor a concentration camp, yet it was also both. It was a sort of transit camp, but it wasn't, because it was a garrison town that was built for the army, 100 years earlier. And people were moved from Prague there. So they were kind of housed there, and it became like a ghetto, but it was this holding place, and it was also a concentration camp. But it was a place where music and art flourished, kind of some underground, some aloud. And the Nazis used it as this model camp. They were making a film to show the world that things weren't so bad. This was this, they took cleaned out lots of the people who had been there, spruced it all up, painted things, moved people around, gave them food for a few days, and brought the Red Cross in to show them Terezin. And it was like this all whitewashed piece. While they were there, they could listen to music. So some of the music was allowed, some was not. There was a conductor. A lot of the cultural elite of Prague was sent to Theresienstadt. And a conductor named, I'm blanking on his name, Hans Krasa. No, he was the composer of the children's. I'm blanking on his name. But when he was told to go to Prague, what did he bring with him in his suitcase? The one suitcase he could bring? He brought all of Verdi's Requiem Mass, the whole musical composition. And so they would perform there were people who had instruments and people with their voices. And this crazy thing, this Requiem Mass, was sung in defiance, but they also sang it, the Nazis had them sing it. And it's crazy because if they had thought about and listened to the words, it was a way of their fighting back by using that piece. But also by hearing the music, it gave others hope. By performing the music, it gave people hope. Fabulous, another PBS film that I don't know if it's available online anymore. It's called Defiant Requiem. And I'll give a list of all about this Requiem Mass and redoing it and bringing back some of the survivors, and absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, so music, art, poetry, all kinds of ways that people would fight back. It's a kid's book or a picture book, but I love this book. A photographer, his name was Mendel Grossman, and he was in the Lodz ghetto. He was a photographer, and the Nazis needed him to take photos of people. So he was allowed to keep his camera in his darkroom. But in secret, through a hole in his coat pocket, he took photos of what was really happening. And his photos, at least some of them, survived. So this is a little picture book about him hiding in with his camera, but it's what he did. It's how he survived, and how now we can see what really happened. We can have some photos that were not Nazi propaganda photos of the Lodz ghetto. Checking my time. No. Time. Oh, didn't realize our time was already. Okay, so I didn't get to any of my rescuers because there's some amazing stories of people, true heroes, who at risk of their own lives and their families' lives being, if they're being caught, they would be killed, and their families would be killed. They risked their lives to save life. In the Talmud, if you save a life, it's as if you've saved the entire world. So some we've heard of. You've heard of Oskar Schindler? Amazing, amazing. But have you heard of Irene Updike? She's one of my heroes. She was 19 years old, Polish woman. She was sent by the Nazis, moved from her house to and as forced to work for the Nazis. And she hit people right under their noses.
Oh, I have in the house.
Yeah, she's amazing, absolutely amazing. Irina Sendler. She saved children by sneaking them out of the Warsaw ghetto and putting them with families. And she saved all their names in jars and buried the jars so the children could be found. Amazing stories. This is the memoir, my high school French teacher's memoir. She was saved by Father Bruno in Belgium. He saved over 300 people. But her story tells us that also the story of Father Bruno, who went out of his way, mostly children, but also adults, that they, by learning their stories, by learning what people did, it puts humanity and it puts hope and it puts a whole different light. We've got the horror and we can balance it, not necessarily balance it out, but we can bring a way to look at it by looking at the other side and what people did. Because truly the only way to fight hatred is through kindness and goodness. Fighting hatred with hatred does not end a cycle. By saying you did something bad to me, so I'm going to do something bad to you, it just becomes this cycle. But by standing up to hatred with kindness and with goodness and with hope, maybe we can move on. Unfortunately, and I had so much more, but it is a piece, and I will send you some. There's more, there's always more, because I haven't read every book. I also have this from the Sousa de Mendes Foundation. Sousa de Mendes, another Holocaust rescuer, but there's the Sousa Mendes Foundation. I bought the Heroes of the Holocaust playing cards. Just because I kind of had to, because every card talks about a different hero, and some I had heard of and some I didn't. So I will send you some, and if I forget, if I don't send some, if I miss something, then ask me and I will send it to everybody.
So a few years I found out about, we're about Safe Haven or Camp Ontario.
Yes. I have the book. I have several copies of the book Haven. Yes.
So the only refugees let in, it's supposed to be 1,000 refugees, is 982 came.